Hello everyone and welcome to my podcast, Hellman Talks. Today I'm joined by José de la Vega. José, he is the CEO and the founder of a very fast-growing consulting firm called Arktic. He's also worked in firms like EY, Banco Sabadell, Optimisa, and he's also a very big Real Madrid fan. José, welcome to my podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much, Claudia. Thank you very much for having me here and for considering myself interesting for your audience.
So why don't we start from the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
So I know that you come from a very entrepreneurial family. Mm-hmm. Your dad had a furniture business, your sister has a very popular clothing brand, and your brother designs cabins. How was it like growing up in an environment like that?
Yes, I was born and raised in a very large family, at least considering the actual standards of a family. All of them, they were entrepreneurs. My father, my mom, my grandparents, and also my brothers and sisters are currently entrepreneurs. And well, I think that we were all educated in the same environment. So I think the foundations of our mindset related with business are similar. Is that why today we are all with the same focus to born and raise companies?
Because as there's so many entrepreneurs in your family, was there something that they taught you?
Well, I think that mostly my mom, she has a very, very strong character, and she made us understand that in life nothing comes for free and everything has to be worked very, very hard. And well, I think that made us to understand that in life everything can change, and if you want to choose things in your life, you have to work very hard. So I think that is pretty much clear that we are educated in the same fashion.
Because as there are so many entrepreneurs, have you thought about maybe doing a family business together?
Well, I think that we are very different. We were raised the same way, but we are very different. So I think that wouldn't work.
I mean, it must be still interesting to have so many people in your family that have different business projects, because then you can share ideas and like talk about different things, and you learn also about different subjects.
Yes, we are very different, as I mentioned before, but I think we care a lot of the rest of the group. I'm an investor in my brother's venture about modular building, but I think that we are giving us support more in the human way. Instead of the business aspects. We share things, we help each other, but we are not sharing our business life.
Yeah, okay. But it's good that you have that support. And I'm sure that you learned a lot early on in your career, in your early life with your family and being surrounded by all that. If we fast forward a couple of years, you've worked in consulting in top firms like EY, MS, and Optimisa. Do you have a particular lesson that from your consulting years that stays with you till today?
Well, I think that I started my career in consultancy a little bit by chance. In fact, they paid much better than other options at that moment. I think that I was not very mature at that stage of my life. Started there because it happened, and there was a very, very clear match because my personality is very curious. I have strong analytical capabilities, and I found consultancy super interesting for me because it's about understanding things, understanding the underlying of the business and applying solutions. And I think that's the main reason, because I really, really love my job. I'm very, very convinced that consultancy is one of the best job you can do.
Yeah, I mean, I know that in the early years of consulting, it's known for being very tough and working long hours under a lot of pressure with tight deadlines. How did you handle that pace and pressure? Maybe you have any tips for any audience that might be listening to this.
Well, I think that it's very important if you want to undergo these situations, is that you have your mind clear that you want to do that. If you are committed with your career and you want to do to progress in this journey, you have to be patient, and you have to go through that. There's no tips. You have to be strong, and you have to be tough, and you have to be elastic in order to understand why sometimes you need to do that. But I think that this is a career that brings you the possibility of understanding and learning and being involved in a lot of different things, and that makes a very, very wide angle of understanding of the corporate world.
So after those early years in consulting, you ended up climbing up the career ladder. You were managing many different teams, and then you ended up becoming the CEO at one of the consulting firms that you were working at. How was that journey like?
Well, my journey was not standard because I started in a very, very small company, and I collaborate a lot in building that success story. So it's not a standard career. In consultancy, you have a very standard career path. It's very normal to start as an analyst and to grow step by step in your career. Then it's a very, very important border, which is when you start or not managing things, managing problems, managing customers, managing another careers of junior guys. And being a CEO is something that you're quite interested in that. I think that it sounds really nice, but maybe it's not so sexy as it sounds from the outside. I think that you have to be very committed, and you have to be really focused in what you are doing in order to get to that point. But it's something that maybe should not be the main target for any consultant that starts in consultancy. I think the main target should be to learn, to take advantage about the opportunities and about the different case studies that you're going to face during your career.
Yeah. I think that you said something very interesting, and you said that there's you start as an analyst or an associate, and then there's some people that make it to a more managing level. What is it that people need to have in order to reach that managing level?
I think that it's very standard that in big companies, for example, let's say the Big Four and that kind of firms, there is a moment in your career that you are forced to manage things, even if you are not the correct person for managing things. That means there's a point where the consultants has the possibility of managing in order to get more money, or abandon that career. And we try to approach this problem from a different perspective. And I think that it's very, very key in our business, and it's very key in the current moment we are living, that we manage the most possible carefully the career of our consultants. That means that we only think that people has to manage things if they are naturally prepared and naturally oriented to that kind of step in their careers. Otherwise, there is a huge risk of wasting talent all the time with your people. It's very common.
Is there something people can do to be more prepared to get to that level?
Well, I think that the main feature that you have to have in order to go there is the willingness to do it.
I think that there's a saying that says, when there's a will, there's a way. So if people that want to get there, they will find their way. And then, so that's like the first step. So from like entry to like managing teams. But then you were managing teams, and then you ended up becoming the CEO. How can people, if people want to become a CEO or to be a managing director in a company, what can they do to get there?
First, to be a CEO, it sounds very sexy, but the CEO does a lot of things that are not super nice. I mean, you have to take decisions that are not easy to take. You have to care about things that no one else care, but you. Mostly in smaller ventures. In my personal case nowadays, I'm caring about being sure that the bath is clean on Friday night, you know. but being a CEO of a bigger company is as well something that you have to have very clear that is what you want to do.
So you've been the CEO of 2 consulting firms, first in Optimisa and now in Arktic. When you're thinking about key skills or habits that make a good leader, are there any ones that you can think of?
In life, everyone do things as you feel it. In my case, I only know how to work from one perspective, and it's pushing very hard and doing things from a kind perspective. So I would say that my leadership style it could be exemplarity and empathy. That means understanding the people you have in front of you, and do all that you can do in order to make the others to understand the why the purpose. Because if you are the typical leader that are always ordering things, I think that the scalability is smaller. I mean, if you are able, or you have the capability of making them understand the purpose of the thing, is much more powerful, in my opinion.
I think that learning about the purpose is very helpful, and I know that's something that in a lot of different companies that they try to show, which is very helpful for employees, because they sometimes maybe don't know what's happening in the boardrooms or in the executive meetings. So I would love to talk also a little bit about what you're doing now, because I know that you've mentioned it a couple of times. So you founded Arktic, which is a consulting firm that's growing very fast. Can you tell us a little bit, why did you decide to create this company?
Well, I have an entrepreneurial spirit from the very beginning of my life. The point is that I tried with different entrepreneurships. I had a tailoring company with a friend. I have an e-commerce for ponds and aquariums, stupid things. But the big one I was part of, it was Optimis. I was part of that project from the very beginning, but I jumped into another guy entrepreneurship. Was not my entrepreneurship. So that means that I never felt that 100% fulfilled with my spirit of my way of doing things, and that was like a little pain that I had. So when we launched Arktic, myself and Eduardo, we thought that we had to put all our essence in the project. So everything we did with a lot of care. We really care about the details, and we took a lot of time. We spent a lot of time. We invested a lot of time building the best possible team. So now we are super happy. You noticed that we are super happy. We are growing a lot. We are more than 150 guys on board now, and this is a clear success story.
It must have been very interesting to relaunch this project, because you had seen it done in one way in a different firm, but then now you wanted to maybe make a little bit changes. But I can imagine that when you build something from zero, there's a lot of challenges. What are the key challenges that you had when you build this from zero?
I think that one of the most challenging things could be when you start at the very beginning to go and to visit your previous customers and to explain why. I've been visiting you 12 years, and we developed a relationship, a close relationship with my previous company, and now why are we here talking with another logo? That's very challenging at the very beginning. Then you understand, and you truly understand the story, and you believe the story, and it's much easier. But the very beginning could be one of the challenges there.
Yeah. And because I know that your firm is growing a lot, which must be very exciting. When you're looking at talent, because I know that there's a lot of consultants out there, what is it that you're looking for in people?
Well, again, we are, I think, well, imagine, I always think that we are different. Yeah. This is the foundations of starting a business. We are looking for, I would say 3 things. One, obviously, is experience or talent. This is very important. I always like to have curious minds around me, people who challenges the established things and to think out of the box, lateral thinking and all that stuff that is very standard as well in business consulting. And in my personal opinion, and I think it's something that is quite spread in Arktic, we are looking for good people. We don't want the modern thing of saying is we don't want toxic people around, because we experienced that in the past, and we don't want that. We are not in that moment. Yeah.
I think it's very funny how you also said that we don't want any toxic people, because I think that's also, I don't know if it's Gen Z or something, but yeah. I know that earlier you had also mentioned like the big 4, and in your industry there's a lot of big players, like you have Accenture, EY. How do you treat competition?
When people ask us about our competitors, usually we compete with the big ones, because most of our customers are financial institutions. We have a very, very strong focus on the financial industry. And there we are always competing with Accentures and Deloitte and blah, blah, blah. I think that my partner, Eduardo, who is like my half brother, he always said an example that is quite funny. He said that in the past, maybe 20 years ago, every junior guy wants to go home and say, "Mommy, I'm working in Deloitte." And now that story is changing. I think that we are able to chase very, very good talent, and the new generations. Sometimes I'm quite skeptical with the new generations. I think that I'm 40 something, so it's normal. But I must to admit that there are now young people who are really, really interested in small businesses and in the spirit of a company and the philosophy of a company, and not just about the size. And for us, it's obviously really nice.
I think that's actually very interesting because I see that a lot because before maybe you had the big investment banks that people wanted to go to, and now maybe they're going to more boutiques. Or I was listening to a podcast the other day of a girl that had worked in Vogue, and before everybody wanted to, if you're in fashion, they wanted to work in Vogue, but now some of them want to go to smaller firms. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a great opportunity for companies like you, so that you have a good opportunity to attach talent.
I always say the same example. Imagine I've been 12 years in a very, very small company. We grew our past my past life. We grew a company from 20 consultants to 1,000 consultants. It was a very amazing journey. I learned a lot, and it was super, super nice. Zero criticism there. And I've been all my life saying the same thing. I worked for Banco Santander, I worked for BBVA, and I work for Banco Sabadell. That example is really nice, because when you work for a very big corporation, it's very difficult to see the whole thing, the whole picture. When I worked for a small bank, I was able to understand the whole picture of a bank, how a bank works, how different departments are related with each other. So working in a small firm like Arktic could be much more interesting for a young guy career in order to understand the big picture. So I think that we are able to give the possibility of a young consultant to see bigger things. Mm-hmm. If you work for a big corporation, which is really nice, obviously work for Deloitte is super nice. Maybe you have limited opportunities to be the whole picture when you're a junior guy.
Yeah, I mean it's good also that like you've had experiences working in bigger banks or bigger companies, mm-hmm. and you also had experience working in smaller firms. Mm-hmm. So it's good also that you've tried both and you've seen which ones you like most, because some people maybe have only tried small and they don't know how, maybe they would like a bigger, or maybe the other way around. Maybe they prefer a larger company. So I think it's good that you've tried both, so that you can.
I'm a believer. I experienced both, and I think that working in small companies gives you a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future, the logical things to jump to another company. I don't know. That would depend on your personal strategy. But in my opinion, I'm 100% convinced about that.
Mm-hmm. And so you built your consulting firm, mm-hmm. in a time where there's a lot of change with AI and technology. How do you think AI and automation is going to shape the consulting world in the next years?
I think that is introducing a super big space for efficiency, for doing things from another perspective, to reduce costs, to include efficiency in legacy processes. And I think that the challenge now is to understand how are we going to work with that, and how the future is going to adapt. The other day we were in a presentation in a summit about AI, and someone asked something about the labor job, the labor market, something like we're going to experience a massive unemployment tsunami, and the guy said, no, that's forbidden, we cannot say that. We're going to be able to do more things with the same people. And well, I think that the challenge is much bigger than that. That now we have to try to adapt to the situation, and to be smart. And to be smart as a company to use that efficiencies in the most powerful way.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting question what you were talking about in your conference, because they say there's a lot of people saying that AI and automation or technology, they're going to take our jobs. Do you think that there will be one day maybe not in the close, but I don't know, maybe there will be a day when AI replaces consultants?
Well, I think that AI is going to replace a lot of things. I think that the magic could be to find the best possible way to use AI, not in order not to be 100% replaced. I think the foundation of that would be creativity and experience. In my opinion, that was another question in that summit. Myself, it was my question. I raised my hand and I said, what about creativity? What about art? What about random connections in your brain? And the guy said that is something that is happening, blah, blah, blah. But I think that real creativity and the real way of applying creative solutions to a problem is something that consultants may protect. We have to protect that. So creativity and experience are things that are not that easily replaceable, in my opinion.
I was actually interviewing the other day somebody that was also talking about AI, but from a movie standpoint, because now there's a lot of movies that are being kind of done with AI. And something that he was also saying is that kind of protecting that creativity, that art is made by humans, it's not by robots or technology. But I don't know.
The other day, I read something in LinkedIn. I guess because it's the only social media that I use. I'm 40 something. Imagine. And I read something like post the prompt and not post the text that was automatically produced by ChatGPT. Yeah. That means that now maybe is the moment that is much more important to understand to know what you was trying to say instead of how. I'm a believer about the how. I think that the how is very important in every aspect of life. How do you think? Do you do things? How you explain things? How you tell a story when you are a movie maker? But the point is that AI is going to replace a lot of things there. Yeah. So you have to use again creativity in order to tell the best possible story. So the point is the story.
Yeah. And so I know that there's a lot happening with AI and technology, which is impacting your day-to-day as you have your own business. But you've had a very successful career. When you look back, were there any tough moments that you had? And if so, how did you deal with them? Because maybe there's people listening that have going through something similar that would like to hear how you did it.
Well, I think that a lot of people that knows me thinks that I have a very tough first impression, and I'm direct and a little bit of rough sometimes. But I think I'm an optimistic. So obviously in my career, I went through situations that were difficult or disgusting. For example, I'm remembering one of my first days working I was working in a Big Four. And I did a 24/7 when I was a trainee. It was my first 24/7 in my life. That was horrible, imagine. 20 years working 24 hours in a row, that's horrible. Or I remember one of the last bad moments in my career that was when I was the CEO of my previous company, and the parent company, which was a French company, decided that they want to fully integrate the company, and I was not invited to that party. Imagine two different things, very, very awkward, both of them. But I think that you have to be optimistic. You have to look in the long term and to push and keep going. And at the end of the day, things are, if you wait 10 minutes, things are less important than you thought at the very beginning of the problem. So if I was not invited to that party, now I'm here. If I was not working that day 24 hours in a row, maybe I didn't learn a lot, and I didn't develop my.
I think that's very interesting because some people say that things happen for a reason. So as you mentioned, if maybe you would have given one opportunity, you would have done something else and you wouldn't have built the company. A lot of people see that with, for example, I don't know, athletes with injuries. If they hadn't had an injury, maybe they would have pursued, for example, their football career, but maybe they wouldn't have pursued and opened, I don't know, a food restaurant, or for example. I have also personal examples like that, that I think that in some cases, I think that some things have happened to me for a reason. But yeah, so it's quite interesting. So I know that I can imagine that being a CEO is very busy. It's very intense. But I know that you also have a family and a lot of hobbies. How do you balance being a CEO and also having a life outside of work?
Well, I would say that the only trick is to be present in both aspects of your life. I mean, when I'm working, I'm working. When I'm at home, I'm with my kids. I have 3 wonderful kids. I have a wonderful wife. I think that I wouldn't be here if they wouldn't be there supporting me in the difficult moments. I think that you have to be present in both aspects of your life. I'm not the typical CEO that wants your team or my team to work around the clock just because they have to work around the clock, because in consultancy you have to do it. I think that you have to enjoy both parts of your life, and that's a trick. I was speaking with one of my guys the other day, because he usually he does projects with Latin America, so he works for Spanish customers the normal 8 hours day, and after that he started with Peru and the projects in Latam, and well, he has 2 kids, small kids, and the other day I was saying to him, please try to balance that, because that kids are going to grow, and that kids are that moment is going to vanish, so please don't forget that part of your life. I think it's very important.
I think that's very good, and I think it's very healthy also. And it's so important to be present, because also the memories that you have as a child, I think that those are the memories that then you'll end up having as an adult when you're thinking about your childhood. So I think I'm very lucky that I've had both my parents being super present. But I can imagine that in today's world it's a bit more challenging, because now you have the phone and you have email and you take Zoom calls and you do so many things that you can do remote that before maybe you had to go to the office. So I can imagine that it's tricky. It's not easy, but it seems that you're managing well.
Yeah, it's constant. It's super intrusive. Technology. I'm technology consumer, and I made that mistake with my family. I think it's something that I'm working, because I couldn't be with my kids and with the phone in my hand. That's something that I have to do better. And it's not easy to manage, because you are super focused on your day-to-day work, and well, your phone is part of your work when you are at home, so it's not easy. And now I have a 12-year kid, and he's starting with
His phone.
technology, and I don't like him doing such things. And sometimes I question to myself, it's my fault because he see myself with phone. So it's something that we have to care. And well, it's quite symptomatic that the CEO of the Silicon Valley tech companies, the big ones, don't allow the kids to use Instagram or that things. No?
Yeah. That's actually interesting, and I'm actually reading a book about that. But it's because what you mentioned, like the kids mirror a little bit what they're seeing in their parents. So you have to, a little bit like what you said earlier about leading by example. I suppose you have to do it maybe at home as well. But it's tricky.
Obviously. In my case, leading with example is a little bit pathological, because I'm the first that wants to take the first plane in the morning when I have to travel, in order for my people to see that I'm not taking a comfortable plane, because it's kind of my personality. With these things, I think that I do things a little bit worse, because I said before, I am a technology consumer. I like the technology, and my work is very, very demanding. So it's something that I have to manage a little bit better.
But I mean, I'm sure you're doing great. You're trying to be present, and being a CEO, having a family, it's probably not easy. But so I know that you're also a very active person. Are there any particular projects that are coming up that you want to share?
Well, I'm very active, as you said. You know me very well. In fact, I have problems with sleeping because of that. I got asleep in 3 o'clock in the morning, and I start thinking about things, and well, books that I need to read or videos that I have to view. I have now a couple of projects related with, well, one with a medical startup and another one related with marketing and publicity and that kind of stuff. Are not very clear, but I'm starting to think about that project.
Yeah. And what do you do? Because you had mentioned that you have problems sleeping, and I know that that's something that's happening to a lot of people now, and also some people that sometimes they're more like night owls. I think that's how they call it. Is there something that helps you that you do?
I think that I have a very, very busy mind. The point is that I sleep very little hours. I sleep 3 or 4 hours, and it's something that is beginning to be a problem for me because I'm very tired, and I have to manage, no, because it's very difficult to manage a lot of interests in a lot of different things, and yeah, the problem that I have is that for me, I have a lot of things on the top of my mind all the time, and I'm like the metaphor of the gazelle in the wild. You know, the gazelle in the middle of the wild,
Yeah.
and the feeling that are constantly observed by a lot of lions and a lot of threats. You know, so sometimes I feel that way. In fact, I'm starting to visiting a therapist in order to manage my frictions with myself, and it's an issue because not sleeping is horrible. It's horrible. You are tired all day. When you have a very, very special night with 2 hours of sleeping, the next morning you feel very, very bad, and you are not creative, and you're not thinking clearly, etc., etc. So it's an issue.
I mean, I can understand what you mean because I'm a person that I love my sleep. Like I need to sleep many hours a night, and the days that I don't have it, I'm a different person. So I think it's very important. Things that I'm trying to do, I don't do them so well, but that at least it helps me a bit is reading a bit before going to sleep or meditation. It's very easy to say, but for me,
does it work?
I mean, the thing is that I don't do it as much as I should, because sometimes I just prefer like to be on my phone and do things. So yeah, but I can understand that it's a challenge. But yeah, but still, even though it's a challenge, you still managed to build an empire around you. So congrats for that. And it's very exciting to hear about your career and everything that you've built. Before we wrap up, we have what we call the rapid questions. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask you 5 quick questions, and then you answer the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Okay, so the first question is, what's something that made you smile this week?
I spoke with my wife yesterday night about this. I saw my children in the swimming pool this Saturday. We went to the tennis club. We played tennis together, and I was looking to them, and I thought for a second that their childhood is happier than mine, and that was very, very wonderful feeling that I had.
Yeah.
At that very moment.
That must be beautiful.
Yeah, I have a very fantastic family.
Yeah, you do. What's one word that describes you?
I'm very curious. I'm asking things all the time.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I'm also very curious. I ask a lot of questions and a lot of whys. The next question is, what's a new language that you would like to learn?
I would like to learn a lot of languages, but I don't know, maybe I would like to speak better French, for example, because I know a little bit of French, but maybe French would be nice because I love French cinema and French literacy, so
yeah,
could be nice.
That's a good one. What's a new skill that you would like to learn?
I think I have a clear lack of emotional intelligence. Would be nice to learn how to manage my first my reactions. You know, how to face reactions to problems and how to manage that feelings interfering with your emotions interfering with your thoughts. Mm-hmm. Something that I have to work on that.
What some people do with that, I know, is that before they kind of, when they hear something, they listen to it, they take a moment, like breathe a bit, and then wait like a couple of seconds and then react. But it's not easy. But maybe it can help you. I don't know.
No, I said it before that things 10 minutes after looks smaller. Yeah. And it's something that we have to learn and to truly learn and to internalize in our minds in order to manage that situations
Yeah,
better.
yeah, because sometimes in the moment things feel very heavy, very big. Yeah. Last question is, what's the best advice somebody has given you?
Maybe something that my wife says a lot of times, and could be something like, don't take things that seriously. It's not that important, and you are not that important. Because maybe I have an anxious personality, and I'm always thinking about things and things, and sometimes I'm not that so important.
Yeah, I think actually that's something that my dad also says quite often. So yeah.
Well, your dad. I heard something from your dad.
Yeah.
Because I know your dad. You know, he's super nice. He said something like, in tennis and in life you have to be bold, but not to be reckless, something like that.
Okay.
Meaning that you have to take risks, but not to be stupid. You know, and it's something that I think that he's 100% correct. To try to take some risks, to face challenges with an open mind and go for it, but not being silly.
Yeah.
And it's something that sounds very easy, but it's not that easy to.
Yeah. I think it's actually very good, because I think that you can apply that also both to the tennis court, as I play a lot of tennis, and also
I know.
to like things in life, like take a little bit of risks, but maybe not too much. I don't know, little balance.
You have to take risks, but not being bold, not being silly.
Yeah, and well, Jose, it's been super nice hearing your story, your journey, a little bit about hearing more about your leadership point of view, and from the consulting world of what you're doing now and what you will be doing later on. So thank you so much for coming here today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.